Yes, episode 23. Right, bit of a mixed batch in this particular one. Painting, polishing on the project car that's going to Silverton Auctions in just a couple of weeks, and getting this ready for an MoT. There's been some holes in it. I knew there was holes in it. It's a Range Rover, of course there's holes in it. Yeah, I've been welding them up. Watch, it's fun, I'm sure. Okay. So, first major journey, 190 miles, has been completed without any dramas whatsoever. A couple of minor niggles. So first and foremost, the windscreen park has failed on me. It's a bit irritating, these things happen though. The missus can't open the doors from the inside, nor can she wind the windows up and down, but it's not particularly weak, but I might have to investigate, because obviously passenger door is from the left hand. Other than that, it's done really, really well. All the gauges, apart from the fuel gauge, stayed right in the middle. So oil pressure was in the 35 to 40 psi, which is good for a Rover V8. Pulls like a train. I did about 60 miles an hour the whole way. God, look at my hair. I did about 60 miles an hour the whole way. And it just wanted to go. I was barely resting my foot on the throttle half the time. 60 miles an hour on the motorway. 60 miles an hour is about 3,000 RPM. I didn't really want to go any faster than that on such a new engine. So I'm going to change the oil and retorque all the heads and inlet manifolds and stuff down. Yeah. Well pleased with it. Really nice ride. Very comfortable. All the side windows and everything open all the way. Quarter lights open, reduce the buffeting. So you can have the window, the driver's door window can be fully open. Open the quarter light just a little bit and it keeps the wind from blowing straight into the car. Quite a neat idea. Don't know why they don't use them on cars anymore. Right. We've got a little radio, we managed to get it working as well. It's only mono. Speaker up there. It's one of these eBay jobbies which comes with a din lead. Again, it's only mono. It's only a mono head. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. I have been placing all of the bezels on the dials. The glass was broken on the oil temperature, so I've just ordered another one for the sake of £38. The radio's nice little original 1970s radio mobile. Probably would have been on the options list originally. The windows to wind up and down nicely now. I've had this door all apart today. Main reason for having the door all apart is because I couldn't actually open the door from the handle on the inside. Now it does. So I did that, and also my missus was complaining about the other door wouldn't open from the inside with her weedy hands. I've done that. I've got this side window to close. That closes nicely. On this side, again, the door handles. There's a nice feel to them now. Basically what had happened was on the lock mechanism down here, where these engage with the lock mechanism, it had bent through excessive use, I guess. Nearly 45 years of being bent backwards and forwards. I've powder coated the gear stick, the Eiffel Tower. It's nice, isn't it? Put the gear knob back on the top. And so I'm just waiting for the temperature gauge to come, and then I can put the console back together again. Crikey, that haircut's a bit severe, isn't it? Right, okay. I don't have to look at myself in the mirror, oddly enough. Okay, so further shakedowns. Been out and done another 32 miles today, and the only real observation I've got is that the fucking indicators are packed up. So I'm going to have to strip half the dashboard apart now to get to the flasher unit and see whether the flasher unit has got power, and if indeed the flasher unit has got power, why the new flasher unit has failed. And I've had this before, these Hokey Cokey 5000 electronic flasher units, they just sort of pack up for no good reason. So let me turn this thing around. Oh, postman's bin as well, hopefully to put my new oil temperature gauge in. But in order to get to the flasher unit, I'm going to undo this area here. Now that screw's already out because I had to do some on the road checks. There's two screws under here. See there, my aerial is tentatively poking out there. That fella comes out there. Dun, 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 dun. Put the screws up there. And big screwdriver, which has take it up, there it is. And then right down in the footwell, there's two screws. There's one there you can see, and there's one over here. So I undo those and then this whole panel comes out. So that's the first thing I need to do. Right, this indicator circuit. Right, so this is the loom that the hazard plunger goes to. And on this loom there's 6 wires. The light green pink wire, that one there, comes from the hazard flasher, which is fed by a brown wire, which means the hazard flashers will work regardless. The green and yellow wire, the one right next door to it there, is the one that feeds the flasher unit for the indicator circuit. If I bridge those two, then the indicator makes a nasty noise. The indicator flasher unit makes a nasty noise, and the reason for that is because there's 2 flasher units in the same circuit. Don't like it. So, without my wiring diagram, I then went round and big solid green cable on the back there. Oh, that sounds very, very Lucasy. 0 volts on that, even with the ignition on. So what I then did was I bridged from a ignition controlled circuit on this blue wire here into the green and yellow circuit. I need to put the ignition up to accessory position number 1. And it works. So what that means is, and I've tested this already, this green wire, big fat green wire, there in the corner, don't have any voltage to it. Now that comes straight from the back of the fuse board over there. So that's my next place to start investigating. And because we've got further dodges here going on in the fuse box location. So basically 4 green wires come off the back of the fuse box, middle fuse and the right fuse, depending on which way around they are. There's 4 items really that run off these green fuses. There are the reverse lights, there are the brake lights, there's the wipers and the wiper park, interestingly, which wasn't working, and the indicators. So those are the 4 things that run off those circuits. I don't think even the headlight switch runs off it. The red headlight switch runs off a purple wire off the first fuse. So of those 4 things, we've got reverse lights that work. Reverse lights work off fuse number 2. This isn't necessarily how yours will be working, set up by the way, because this thing's been pulled apart and reassembled. So on this fuse box, fuse number 2 does reverse lights, fuse number 3 does the brake lights and the wipers. Now interestingly, having pulled it all apart and put it back together again, the self-park's working. I've still got nothing though going to the indicator circuit. So next I think I'm going to pull these wires off the back of the fuse board, probably on the middle fuse, because I know what the 2 wires, in fact there's 3 wires. One of those is a bit crushed as well. Big fat one, it's probably brake, and then we've got this one here. And then we've got 2 other wires here. I don't know which one's which, I've got no idea. Whole thing's a complete fucking shambles. Might end up being a complete new fuse board on this yet, which is going to be a ball's ache, because no, I could probably put terminals in, just push terminals in and rewire them. So I'm going to have to pull this fuse board apart now to find out what is actually going to each of these circuits. Fun, huh? So after a lot of fiddling and faffing around, that's one of the blades off the fuse box. This is the one that was previously bodged. There's even more bodged now. So basically, what I've done is I've wedged in 3 out of the 4 blades, and the wipers work and park, the reverse lights work and the brake lights work, which is 3 out of the 4 things, or 5 things, because there's another thing which runs off green, which I hadn't considered before, and that's the heated rear window up there. Heated rear window. That's now the heated rear window and the indicators, the only 2 things not working. Ironically, hope that's done it. These dashboard seals are dead easy to get to. The only issue is that you need to kind of set the carburetors afterwards. So 4 screws hold the Stromberg dashpots on. I'm just trying to reach up, and you can see I've been working inside the doors here because all the scratches on the back of my hand. 4 screws. Mrs. has come out talking to me, yapping away. We've had problems. We've had a visitor from South Africa with us the last month. It's been wonderful having him. But this journey today, she's come down from Berwick-on-Tweed to get to Gatwick with my 3 sons, and just every single bloody step of the way has been a delay. Oi, don't you disappear. Every single step of the way has been a delay. And now we've just heard that all flights out of Gatwick are cancelled. Right, so then, once you've undone all the 4 screws, you lift the chap up. There's the dash top. You just put these on here, so you've got a nice container for everything to go into. You've got a big spring that stops it all. Then you've got the famous or infamous diaphragm, and then you've got the needle on the bottom. And I'll show you now how that all comes together. Right then, so we've relocated to the workshop, as you can tell. In order to get to the seal, we need to remove the needle. Now, the problem with this is the needle's attached to the to the adjuster inside here. So I need to undo the adjuster, undo the grub screw, and then hopefully it'll all come apart. That sort of works. Right, okay. So first and foremost, let's remove the needle. So the tool goes into the top of the dashpot, and I'm going to wind it. So half, 1, half, 2, and it feels like it's out. Let me undo the grub screw. Take the grub screw right out. There's the grub screw. It is out. I'll have to look back at the video to find out what number I got to, but it's not a problem, because now what we need to do is we now need to drift the adjuster and its body out of the tube. So what I do, it should come out fairly easily. It's going against the star washer, and I'm only banging it against the palm of my hand here, so I don't want to knacker up the thread, so I'm making sure that it's central. It's probably not a great idea to do it this way round, is it? Okay, let's have a... There it is. Now, one more bang. There it is. That popped out. Right, so you can see that the tool's gone right through there. So let me rescue the tool. Put the tool back in, because that doesn't need to be abused any further. And I wasn't really abusing it anyway. So that's the adjuster, and on there's an O-ring, and that's the O-ring that the fluid leaks past. So let's just double check we've not fucked the thread up by the fact it still screws into the jobby, which it does. That screw still screws in, that's good. And then the other important part on this is a star washer, and that's what holds it into the tube. Okay, so don't lose that little fella. If you haven't got one of those, then your carburetor jetting will be all over the shop. Now, for the purposes of this, what I'll do is I'll leave the adjuster attached to the carburetor, sorry, to the needle. Oh, there is a freaking scuff on it. No, it goes past it. Must be an old scuff. Right, what we need to do next is get the old O-ring off. I know this one leaks, so I'm just going to cut it. No beers were hurt during this. That's the O-ring. There he is, and you can see he's absolutely solid, this O-ring, so I'm not surprised it wasn't leaking. I'm surprised that I don't think I've actually rebuilt these carbs. I think they came to me rebuilt, and someone doesn't bother to replace that O-ring, which is pretty thick, really, isn't it? next thing I need to do is to find a suitable replacement for the O-ring. But I mean, honestly, look at it. That's how it came off. It came off in my hand. Now I'm just going to go through. So I've got a 6 by 2. I'm just going to try different O-rings in the groove and see. That was not bad. It's quite a chunky O-ring, that one. And the thing is, does it fit down inside the tube? It wants to be a reasonably snug fit. That's, to my mind, that's probably a bit on the loose side. It's not bad. Let's try the next size up. Get that fella off there. The problem with my workshop is everything gets fucking covered in swarf, which is why I'm using the plastic container here, because there's less chance of getting contamination. So there's that fella. Now, next size up I had was that one. I think that's going to be way too big. Next fattest one I've got is this one. This is a fatter O-ring. No, that's exactly the same as that one. That's a fatter O-ring. Now that one might be too fat. It's the right size as far as going on is concerned, but this is like Mr. Michelin, this one. So that's not going to go in there. So I think it's the previous one. I think I'm just going to have to go with it, which is a 2mm by 6. You're going to watch me stab myself in the finger in a minute, and you're going to hear some expletive. Alas, no need for expletive. There is no need. What? Not this time, anyway. Right, so we've got a new O-ring in there. I'll take it off the needle. I'll position it in. Now, what happened to that star washer? There it is. I'll put him the right way up in the top. I'll put the star washer over the top. Then I need to push him down. No, more suitable drift this time. So I'll push him down as far as he'll go. Now I think he might need to go a bit further than that. No, that is pretty much it. So one of these things, great drift, for pushing in and out. Don't go in through the bottom hole, but it goes in through the top hole. Right, so next thing I need to do now is wind on the jet. So what I need to do is I've aligned it. I'll put the grub screw in a couple of turns. I shall review the video to find out how many turns I undid it, but I think it was getting on for 2.5. That's the right location. So allow me to review the video which I've just done, not 2 minutes ago. If I can fucking stop this one. Right, you'll know it, but because you already saw it a minute and a half ago, but I wasn't really concentrating. So the prognosis is it was 2, between 1.5 and 2. So I'll locate the tool. There goes my tool. Alright, let's try it again. I need to locate this thing in. Have I got the right one? Yes, I have. Why is it not locating into the end of the adjuster? I don't want to locate in the end of the adjuster. Wait, I don't know why not. Come on, you bastard. Don't be mean. That way around. I've had this before where the adjuster's not happy because it's got a bit of grit or something on it. I was just using this just now. It's not that. Let's go in. Oh, my missus is doing a barbecue. It might actually be located. Let's put that there. It is located, so that was half. That's 1.5 and 2. Back in. New seal. Probably told you chaps this before. I just stuffed the tissue in there, by the way, because when you take the needle out, the jet, which is the round circle in the bottom there, the brass round circle, that one there, that's obviously there's fuel right below that. So without the jet in place, or the needle in place in the jet, it's not going to blank off the fuel source. Right, okay, when you put these things together, there's a lug there. And on the diaphragm, there's a lug there. You need to make sure the two correspond. So locate the needle first of all, which I've done. Oh, no. Which I've done. And the reason for this is the needle's sprung, and you want the needle to be sprung in the right direction. It needs to be sprung towards the butterfly. Right, okay, that's done that. Now I just need to have a quick look gander round the side and just check that the diaphragm has gone into the keyway spring. Goes back on, and then the dashpot top. Now there's a line on the edge there, corresponds with a line on the body. So just line over the top and 4 screws for now. Undo the dashpot, squirty oil, squirt, 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 squirt. Right, I can see it in the neck of the dashpot. Don't want to put too much in there. Don't want it going all over the shop. And then let's just get that, and that's quite a bit of resistance there now. Do him up. The reason I'm doing this one and not that one is because that one was empty after a 190-mile journey, and that one was only a quarter empty. And in fact, even now, it's got a fair amount of oil in it. So I'm not bothered about that one. That one's fine. That one, foobar. I will do the other one, but just not now for the purpose of this video. Right, let's put that back down now. Let's see if he starts. Bearing in mind, I haven't done any tuning or anything on this. And I haven't got any throttle pedal either. Oh, I can't reach the throttle. So I can't reach the throttle cable, so I'll just have to press the throttle pedal behind. Seems happy enough, doesn't it? I'll give it a proper balance up tomorrow, but I just can't be bothered now. Right. Success, I would say. Oh, paint shop tomorrow. He's locked. Right, barbecue tonight now. I'm going to go and get some libation. Light refreshments, I think. Light refreshments are cool. I won't leave that in there because it will just blow around and end up on a motorway somewhere, and I hate litterbugs with a passion. Right, pop this away. Hey, today we're at the body shop. Yeah, these got strobing lights as well today. We're doing a bit of a polish. So flattening back and polishing the bodywork. Part of the big push. Steve's been going down this side. Sorry with the strobing. These LED lights. Some strobe, some don't. Oh, it's better strobing if I point it downwards slightly. There we go. There we go, strobe back. So the polishing back, I've been flattening back the bonnet work that I did. A couple of imperfections, big fly. There it goes. Halfway through the bonnet. So just on the first cut at the moment, you can see I flatted the centre section. First cut on the outside sections, but it's coming out really nice. Bonnet needs to be a little bit better than the side. All this side's been done. So the problem with the bonnet, it was a very slightly different shade. So Steve has blended it in, both sides. It's just letting the paint go off at the moment. The whole thing's been polished, looks beautiful. Got this masking paper off. Heading down to Devon tonight. Going to get the blue car. The 93 Vogue needs MoT. Sort some odds and sods out. See, that's been blended in as well. Nice, eh? Today is MoT prep day for the 1993 Vogue, and this is one area that I knew needed a little bit of a tickle. Look at that. That's after a little poke. So I'm going to have to get a fairly substantial chunk of steel to weld around the inner wheel arch. There. I'm debating whether I need to take the outer wing off or not. I think I could probably get away without it, but to do the job properly, I need to kind of have it off, so to speak, for now. I'm also debating whether I just cut this piece off and replace it, because I've got another one in the shed, and by the time I've kind of fannied around and done all the bits on the inside, then I might as well have done that bit, and then in order to do that bit I might as well take this off. In order to take this off, LPG tank's got to come off. I just want to get the fucking thing MOT'd. It's going in for a fairly extensive overhaul at some point, but it would make sense to get this thing sorted out so I don't have to come back to this area. I've got all the steel, I've got the tickly stick here, I've got everything I need here really in order to do this. This crap I'm going to have to take out. I'm just going to chip it off, I think, because it will just catch fire otherwise. That's the LPG tank there. There's no smell of gas in here. Strictly speaking, I should actually have the thing out. So I think really, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Let me assess what's required for getting this thing off here. This outer wheel, I just use non-structural, and it's rusty down there at the top. And with it out of the way, I could probably do a better job of welding this chunk up here, but it really just needs to happen. LPG tank out. Do I do the LPG tank out? I've got to do this, and I've got to do... What else do I need to do this weekend? I've got to build a stag engine, and I wanted to sort the unit out, but I also wanted to start working on the bobtail. But I honestly don't think the bobtail's going to get a look in this weekend. That's all quite solid down there. That's happy enough with that. It's just this bit here. But in order to get to the bottom end of this, I need to take this panel off. There's the inside of it. Oh look, there's the world up there. Because really it needs a strip putting right the way around the inside here. Right the way around to the front. Back wing's going to come off. I've decided back wing's coming off. It's actually not that difficult to get the back wing off because the rear bumper corner comes off. A couple of pop rivets down the end here and it's going to come off. Back wing's coming off. I've made the decision. Let's fucking do it properly. Let's not bodge it. Right, okay. So it's turning into one of those little jobs that becomes a bigger job, and I know it was a particularly big job for some of you guys anyway, but I mean just welding that up wouldn't be too much of a problem because I go in from underneath, cut all the, what I basically do is cut here, right the way around, all the way down to there, cut, big piece of steel in from underneath, seam weld it, boom, bushty, there we are, done. And because you've got this nice piece of steel on the outside here, I cut that off as well and weld it into there. Then, when I got the outer wing off, which came off nice and easily, I've left it hanging because it's got the LPG pipes on it at the moment, just supported. This inner wing it's fucking desperate. I mean, look at it. It really is a piece of shit. So, I've marked out the spot welds around the lip. I can drill those puppies out. I've got a brand spanking new panel to go on. I bought this pionks ago, and it's actually going to fill in some of the holes I've already got anyway. So the hole at the bottom of this D post, which if I go under here, there it is. Look at that, whacking great big hole. There, that one, right in the middle of the screen now. So that then gets covered up by this. There's a bung that goes in there just to let the water drain out. But there it is from the top. Look at that. That's right. That's that off. It's kind of reached the end of its service life, to be honest. It really has. It's done well. Car's 26 years old and it's an original part to it. So clean up this edge now. Tidy it down the bottom edge down there. Tidy up at the top edge up here. And then I think what I might do is just clamp this in place to start off with. Clamp this panel in place to start off with. It goes. It needs to go behind the plastic trim down there, so I'm going to have to pop one of the rivets out. It goes like that. And these bits, they're actually not a bad panel fit either. I've seen far, far worse than these fellas. It goes like that, see? And it blanks in the bottom of the A post. Clamp it all in place. Make sure the outer wing still fits over the top of it, which it should do. Might need a little bit of adjustment up here because there's lumps of weld and stuff there from previous indiscretions. And then when I've done that, I can start to repair the wheel arch, but I think the wheel needs to come off first of all. The wheel's on. I've got it up in the air. Look at all this crap and mud that came out while I was beating the shit out of it. These things happen. 2 holes. There we are. This thing needs a boot floor. I knew it all along, but this is getting less amusing by the minute. I can weld this back onto here. That's not going to be a problem. It's going to need a new wheel arch, a new floor, new curtains, new lot. Pretty much everything from here back needs replacing because I've just been patching it over the years, and it's going to get patched for this MoT. But then I faithfully promised, look, there's nothing holding the floor there. Holy fuck. Right, that's just that's resting on a member anyway, because I can't go any further down with it. It just wants, like I've done in the past, because there's a nice big chassis underneath. It's going to be a bit of a pop rivet there. I'm not taking any more out of this car. I better check the other side. I have done the other side years ago. I'm hoping that's still solid. Again, this was a temporary fix over here. Yeah, there's big plates you can see and welded on there. That's pretty much what's going to happen on this side. It's actually damp on this side. Right, so I think what I'm going to do, because this lot is all coming out fairly soon, is I am going to weld from here a big L section that goes up and over there to hold it all in, to hold it all together. And that will bypass this section down here that's fucked, and it will bypass the fact that the boot floor is a little bit loose. Only a little bit loose though. It's not a lot loose, just a little bit loose. A little bit loose we can cope with. So when it becomes a lot loose, we have a problem. Cut it all out. It's actually reassuringly not as bad as it actually looks, because the boot floor, pop rivets, or sorry, spot welds along this edge here, but underneath it is actually quite solid. This panel here, that goes underneath there, is the whole side curtain, which I'm going to replace full stop with the wheel well. Wheel arch itself is actually reasonably solid, apart from the bottom bit and the top bit. Might be salvageable, I don't know. But now I've cut all that out, and this cross member piece here, okay, it looks fucked, but you replace that, it goes on as part of the new floor, and it's that bit that's holding the floor up. Yeah, just this end bit is rusted out. It should go right the way over to here. It should go all along that bit there, and it doesn't. Not like I can really do about that right now. What I'm actually going to do... Okay, I chose not to seam weld this, but I've given it an enormous number of plug welds. One bit of rust blew through on the floor there, which I'm not particularly bothered about. But overall, this wheel arch is now secured, solid, to the front rigger here, the side rigger here, the back rigger there, and it ain't going nowhere. In fact, when I slammed the door earlier on, the whole fucking thing moved, and it still does. See? And I think that's because now this outer wheel arch does have a certain amount of structural rigidity. Plus, there's fuck all connecting this to this. So that's going to be my next piece, I think, that I'm going to do. Cut out all of the bits I need to cut out from the inside, tighten all the edges up. I'm going to weld this in next, because then it's going to give me the position for the rear wing, which I know is right now. But I need this welded in so I can close the door and position the back wing back on, so I know how far in and out this needs to go. Because you can see, well, that'll do for the first bit. Tightly welded in. Interestingly, the door is loose on... Oh, I know what it is. I haven't put the seal in. I haven't got the seal that goes around the edge of the door. I'll pop that back in a minute when I finish welding and just double check. Oh, I can always adjust the catch out here. Yes. A series of slugs chasing each other around this patch. Right, next patch now. Oh, dink. That's cooling down nicely. Right, now for the big hole. Yes. Right, that's done the bit that I actually came in here to do, and a load of other fucking bits. And then I found another bit. That's right underneath the tank, that one. It's nowhere near a body mount. It's nowhere near any seatbelt mounts. So I'm actually just going to put a couple of tags of weld on the edge there and plaster it in seam sealer, just to stop the rust going any further. And then I'm going to sort these fuckers out down here. And then we're almost done on this side. Crikey Moses. Right, a seam sealed around all of the edges. Of course, I put all the seam sealer on, busily making sure that I used lots of it to make sure nothing leaks out. Highly flammable shit this, you want to be careful. Then realised, bollocks, I haven't welded those up yet. So I'll have to happen tomorrow. I'm not going to mess around with the seam sealer vapor and start welding now. That's just silly, and I'm not going to finish this job today anyway. So what I'm going to do, last holes on this side. It's difficult to access some of these bits because I can't get the angle grinder in there, but I've cut all of the rust out right above the body about there, and probably too near the seat mount for the MoT man to ignore it. I know what he's like. So when I'm making a template out for a hole like that, what I tend to do is put a piece of cardboard over it, wedge the cardboard into the hole, keep it nice and steady, and then just push my fingers around all the edges, and you can see there the rough outline of this particular hole. And it goes like that, and then you push around the edges, make a mark with your dirty finger, and that's the minimum size that this needs to be. Look at that fucking strobing, and minimum size that this piece of metal needs to be. Now what I need to do is to punch this out onto a piece of steel, cut it out using my trusty throatless shear for now, and weld it in. I've given myself a little bit of extra metal around the edges there, so I'm not going to butt weld this in. I've cut all the rust out. I'm just going to seam weld it over the top. So it's going to be a lap weld. You can see the original lines. Hopefully you can see the original lines. These are the lines of the hole. Okay, give myself about a centimetre all the way around the outside. There it is. That's the patch. Just trial fitted it on the car, and I'll just cut myself again on this sharp metal. Now what I need to do is to lay this on the piece of steel, mark around the outside with the scribe, cut it out, fold it, weld it in. Found my camera stand. Woo! Right, so if you haven't got one of these throatless shears, you want to get your arse around one, especially if you do any metal cutting, because they just make life so easy. They really do. I got this one from Frost, but to be honest, what I say to be honest quite a lot, but to be frank, many suppliers sell them, and all you really do is you need to kind of adjust the base plate here and the cutting edge to match really the steel that you're doing, and it's ever so easy to cut. You could shave half a millimetre off a piece of metal if you wanted to. Now I've lost track of the lines on this because there's so many bloody marks on this. I just want to make sure I cut right. So cut it up to there, and then I'm going to cut along this vertical. Just cut that piece off there because that's just annoying me. Go to the little pile of bits and bobs. That's going to go straight up there. Still got a hangover. Sometimes you just need to enjoy a drink. Right, now, having got it to that point, I can actually start to pivot it around, which I've just done just there, and cut the next straight, and then pivot it again. This is where the throatless bit comes into its own, you see. Might run out of throat in a minute. I'm not sure if it's a throatless or deep throat. I didn't just say that. I'm sure I didn't just say that. Right, there's the rough outline. Let's move the crap over here. Let's see what we've got. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then what I need to do on here is mark, using my centre punch, where the fold needs to be. That was the fold there. So if I go kadonk, kadonk, steel rule. Triad. Not 2 minutes ago. Oh, it's on the floor. Oh, steel rule. Mark where the fold needs to be. Now, is that correct? Give or take a millimetre or two. So I'll fold it. Might need to just straighten him out first of all. That will do. Right, make sure you fold it the right direction, because it'd be a shame if you fold it the wrong direction. this vice sticks sometimes. It's this edge along the bottom here. You probably can't see that because everything else is in the way. But the edge gets in the way. Right. What do we need to do? Let's go and line this up with the car now. So just check the alignment and fit. Right, minor cock up. I folded that as right angles, but it doesn't want to be right angles. So let's bend it up slightly. It's going to need a little bit of. I might not need this piece here. We'll see. Go and line this bit up. Oh, there's a bit of a burr on there. Just take that little burr off, because that's the sort of thing that ends up stuck in my finger, and then I start screaming blue murder. Come on. That's what I just cut off there, you see, stuck in my finger. I knew it was going to fucking do that, but that's kind of just a fraction of a millimetre. I just shaved off the edge there using my little throat, this deep throat shear. I'm going to call it deep throat from now on. Right, and here he is. It sort of fits. There's a little bit of a curve down, so if you can see when I push that down there, it raises up a little bit. So what I might have to do here is get the bag and see if I can shrink this line down. It's not too bad. It's only a millimetre or so. And then the other thing I might do is just shave this little corner off up here just to make life a little bit easier welding it. Just cut that little corner off there because it's inside the repair area. And then I'm going to put a couple of tacks. So first of all, use the power file, which is hiding somewhere. So scribe around the edges. Use the finger file just to clean the paint back. Bit of zinc. A couple of tags. Adjust, tag, adjust, tag. Adjust, tag, adjust, tag. And then that is going to be done. Yes, another hole fixed. Oh, but you see the body mount is right underneath it, and you know that Mr. MoT is going to get irritated by that. So I'm just going to guess on this this top little piece here. Oh, I can't really do it. Ah, fuck it. There we go. Shaved a little bit off the top there. That fits fucking beautiful, that does. Right, okay, now. Next thing I want to do, before I start scribing and doing things like that, I want to see if I can bend this edge down a tiny bit. Here we go. So the nice little power file, finger file, whatever you want to call it. It's only a 1 centimetre jobbing. Nice and controlled. Takes the paint off right the way round. Double check, make sure you've got the patch big enough. Make sure there's no rust there anywhere. Now, next thing I do is put a bit of weld-through primer on it. It's a zinc-rich weld-through primer. It's very useful. There's a huge amount of dust on that. Very useful stuff. And the idea is that you kind of paint both faces that you're lapping over each other. That's going to get cleaned up on the bench. I've obviously got the cardboard in here because there's all sorts of electrics and stuff under the seat, and you really don't want grinder sparks or anything like that flying into where all that crap is. Also, you need to protect your glass, as we found from the project car. Welding, splatter and glass are not friendly. Right, now we just need to clean the back of this thing back. And also you'll find the steel, if it's rusted on one side and not the other side, you'll find there'll be a protective coating on this steel. And again, I use the finger file just to go around the edges of it, just to take whatever protective coating there is on this, because that will just cause you nasty welding splatter. It's done one. It's not particularly tidy welding because I had to do it like a centimetre at the time, because I've got limited access to the back of this panel because the big old guard is in the way. And then I left this top one until last, because obviously I could look in behind to see what was going on down here. The top one, just tacked it into place and... Right away! I've got another box. I'm pretty sure I've got another box. Oh, I've got another box. Otherwise this is going to be fucking... Oh, look at that. Yay. Fucking fail central. Right, let's get wire loaded up. What have we got here? 6mm. Right, done. Let that lot cool down. One of the things that I find whenever I put a new reel of wire in this thing, in fact it used to happen more often with the small reels, you put a giant reel in, and I just find I need to adjust all the tensions and stuff again, so just be wary of that. So what I often do, before I start welding, I just have a scrap piece of steel and start putting plugs on it. And when it lays flat, I know I've got the wire speed about right. Use a similar sort of thickness of steel to the one that I'm actually using in the car. So you see it's a bit pigeon snotty there. Again, because I was kind of just working in very, very small localised areas and checking for fire, which isn't that easy under here. Ideally, I could have done without this panel in the way. And I'm going to get another one of these. Right, next thing I need to do, resecure all of the electrics and hoses and things. They all need to be tucked up and out of the way. I should use giant tie wraps, I think. Just tie wrap it over there somewhere so it's out of the way of the damper. Oh, there's some heat under there. I shall wait until this is all cooled down. It will do. It will do. Right. The other thing I wanted to do was, these fixings here for the seat aren't very, very good, so I'm going to drill them out and put riv nuts in. Right, all done. Ready for its MOT. I had to adjust the front wheel bearings a tiny bit. Tiny bit of play in each end. MOT Monday morning. Let's see what happens. I have in my hand a piece of paper and it says, yay! Right, loading the car up now. Heading off home with the stag engine and other bits and bobs. But yeah, a few advisories. No emissions reading because it was running on LPG. His machine isn't finely tuned enough to pick up any hydrocarbons, so we can't test that. Oil leak, but not excessive. It's a Land Rover. Twice. And steering box has seepage. I knew about that. And the Vogue strut has also got. This thing's got a. Oh, no, that's better. Sepia. Sorry. What's its name? Effect. Right. Home. So. Using a little bit of textured ABS plastic. This is 1mm thick stuff. Probably don't need to have any more. I've mounted the radio in the fascia. Looks alright, doesn't it? It's a little bit off centre. I can soon straighten that up in a minute. Just noticed that it's wonky in the front panel there. Soon fix that. But yeah, I'm quite pleased with the way that's gone in. Happy with that. And you just really just mark out the template on the front here, so you end up with a piece on the front that looks a bit like that. That was metal. And then you make a couple of strips, drill holes through for the spindles to go through, and that goes on the back. And it just kind of mounts in. Well, the templating seems to have worked quite well. The O's standing proud because the pegs on the back are really big. I don't understand why, but it looks all right. Right, now I need to. That R's a bit wonky. Fuck, what's happened there? I need to just double check these things are actually bang on. That R looks like it could go down a little bit. I might have to extend the hole on this one. Or shave the pins off and super glue it on. One or the other. That one's alright. What I'm going to do, I think, is make up a paper template that goes along here. I left the main template in the unit. A pain in the arse. A lot of holes though. So next I've got to put these little plugs in. But before I put the little plugs in, I want to polish this front panel. And I had to wash off the polishing mop. I'm not sure if it is. It is a little bit on the piss, but it's not horrendous. Almost wants to go across just a tiny bit. It'll work. That one's okay. After weeks of battling with the tailgate seal, and that's the only way I could get the tailgate seal to kind of work was by cutting it in half, because that's a reject. So I bought a new tailgate seal. That's the profile of it, and it's just too fat to cope with the tailgate. There's just a little bit there that needs pushing down. Push that down. So I know the bottom tailgate's closed at the moment, but that's a door seal. Check this out. Fuck's sake. So this is an old door seal. Much flatter in profile. Much softer. I mean, bearing in mind this door seal is probably 40 years old. But I've been over it, cleaned it up, rejuvenated it. The only place it doesn't quite fit is around this area here, but it will probably settle in. I've done the water test on this side and it doesn't even bloody leak. So quite why we need to have a profile that's so much fatter, I don't know. Anyway, the only problem I guess is you have to put it in 3 sections because you need to put a T across the top there. It's not that beautiful up there actually. What have I done? Oh, no one's going to notice that. Yes, bloody door seals. In other news, dashboard's all sorted out. Radio's in. Check him out. He works too. Keys. Because he works for accessory position number 1. No, it's wrong key. Dashboard radio works too. Look. Ignition on. Radio.
Stephen Gallagher. McElroy to give everyone a head start, make it interesting, you know. We gotta have the drama on Sunday.
So a little radio. Looks the business. Looks period. I've got to get one of these vents for the top of the dash. All of the gauges down the middle now look the business. So new bezel, powder coated bezel, okay, all in. Put a new oil temperature gauge in there to match the oil pressure gauge because the glass was broken on the old one, and by the time I got glass and messed around with it, it would have been a nightmare. Fixed all the floor mats in. I'm just going to put a bit of double-sided tape on that section there. I'm going to fill some of the gaps in where the mats are missing with some remains of an old door panel. See the bottom half of the door there. So my dad's posting one of those over today. I need to work out where the ashtray goes. There's a bung under here somewhere. I need to have a quick look at that. I think the ashtray probably goes something like that, but I need to just consult. What else have I been doing? Yeah, just fixing it all up. Oh, I put the badges on the front. Oh, look how that door closes. God, look at that. Whoa. Looks good, doesn't it? I started polishing the front of the bonnet up as well. We're getting some good reflections off this now. It's a bit of a murky day today. I need to polish the rest of it, but obviously I want it to be a little bit drier before I do things like that. Yeah, just going around tickling all the little jobs and obs and sods that I need to do. All the rear mats are all in and punched down. I mean, the mats aren't... Oh, I've got the seats working a lot easier as well. 1 second. Actually, I could just do it with the front. So if I pull the handle under the front... Oh, I say I've got it working a lot easier. It was working a lot easier yesterday. Maybe it needs a bit more lube. But basically lubing the runners up has helped massively. Might have to edit that out, lube up the runners and then demonstrate again. Yeah, it's coming together though. Coming together rapidly. Paintwork looks $1 million. Even on the roof. Could do with the wax up there. Right, so let's get these seals finished. There's the remains of the old seal. So this, in fact we can compare. Look at the difference in the thickness of the wall between the new and the old. So the wall on the new is twice the thickness of the wall on the old. And that's just ridiculous, I'm afraid. It's silly, because it just means that nothing fucking works. 14 quid down the toilet. Never mind. Trouble is I cut that one up. The other one's going to go straight back because I've not used it yet. Straight back because it's useless. Strongly recommend you do likewise. Door seals, way to go forwards. I'm going to have a check with various seal manufacturers and see if I can get something that was nearer this profile. I've got plenty of it, so I've got lots of these door seals. But the problem with the door seals is a lot of them have moulded corners on them, moulded edges. And then this one I rejected because it's a bit of a tatty side around the edges and it's got a few split sods and sods in it. But good as a pattern. Never chuck anything away, you see. Told you. It's true. I won't even chuck these fucking things away. I might hang on to them. Right, let's get the seal in. So this seal's gone in. Where I've kind of buggered up on some of this channel here. I've not been able to. I'm going to find some way of getting that pressed down. Oh, to hell with it. The other irritating thing here, stainless steel fixings. I don't think so. Replace those. Right, here we go. Ready? Tailgate. Okay, that side didn't go down then because I didn't press very hard, but pissing thing. Right, let's. Looks bloody good, doesn't it? My sister made this for me. I ordered the fabric up. My sister made it. Let me get the original out. I've sourced some of these tools came with the car originally. Some of them I've had to get hold of. It's near enough a complete set. The only thing it's missing is the tyre pressure gauge. What else have I got? Yeah, tyre pressure gauge is the one thing I'm missing. That fella there goes, that's the to open the diffs and the gearbox plugs, but it's for later cars, not earlier cars, because the earlier cars you use 1/2 inch spanner and the adjustable. That's the old style adjustables you used to get. Right, let me get the old pattern out. So this is the fella that came with the car that's that I've been restoring. It's quite rare to find these things, and it had half these tools in it already. Some of these bits, like the screwdriver, they're actually a fairly common German screwdriver. Still fitted to binnies, believe it or not. That's why that looks brand spanking new, because it is. It's exactly the same part number. The rest of this stuff is super slim British made spanners, which go in there, 3 different sizes, spark plug spanner, a pair of early pliers. I'm not restoring these, I've just cleaned them up and they're going to go back. And then I'm going to keep that for a pattern for next time round. And that's going to go in the car. I'm well chuffed with that. I think that's brilliant. So I ordered the fabric from Woolies Trim. It's like an elephant hide vinyl, quite a thick, tough vinyl, and then a Hessian. And then she's lined it and bound the edges, exactly like that one. I owe my sister a few quid, don't I? Very nice, eh? Very nice indeed.